Sam here, and in this video we're going to be covering the week's action, looking at the indexes, bonds, volatility, and stick around till the end because I'm going to have a special ticker for you that I'm looking at. This ticker is probably the key to the market, so you'll want to stay tuned to grab it, and I'll also include it in the video description below. Let's dive in with SPY here. My goal for this video, normally they end up being pretty long, 20, 30 minutes or so. My goal with this one is let's see if we can bang it out in 8 minutes. Unprecedented time for your boy Sam, but I don't really know if there's a whole lot to cover up until the very end when we get to that ticker. So let's start here with SPY. Everything remains the same. Max bull across the board. Everything is very well aligned. There seems to be absolutely no problems. Last week was a bearish engulfing candle. This week was an inside week, but a very strong bullish candle to counteract a lot of last week's bearishness. And in doing so, it has basically, almost like the Men in Black zapper pen, erased the market's memory of this traumatic 2-day pullback. So for now, everything looks great. Now I do have to tell you that as I look at this chart, I am already thinking about the chart I'm going to show you, and it colors this point of view considerably. But until we get there, for now, the SPY is very well aligned, and it would be more unusual if it did not go on to make a new high from here. Let's go on to the QQQ. So QQQ is the same thing, but better. This will make even more sense once I show you the signal chart that I'm looking at towards the end of the video. You did actually make a new all-time high today in the Qs, and that is incredibly impressive. So this one, does it count as a bullish engulfing candle? Hey, I suppose it does. It closed above last week's high and fully erases the drop. So all of that is fantastic. Let's keep going. I don't see any major squeezes here, so this is just an object in motion stays in motion. Let's go to the IWM, the ever-hated IWM. Let's see what this guy did this week. And again, really, in this particular market, I actually don't even think you need the IWM. Again, if you wait till the end, you'll see why I'm saying that. But the IWM, think about it like this: one apple, the stock, one apple is worth the entire 2,000 companies inside of the IWM. So if Apple is up significantly enough, all the companies in the IWM don't necessarily need to do anything. Here on the IWM, no change really to speak of. It's an inside week. The signals from last week remain live, so not a lot of interest here as well. Let's move on to HYG. HYG, we look at its high yield bonds. So I'm just looking to see if there's any problems anywhere. Hold your laughter as I say that, because there will be no problems anywhere. But it is prudent to at least look. And for now, as long as HYG is above 79, it's bullish. If it's above 80, it's even more bullish. So simple enough. Bullish chart implies bullish price action. High yield bonds being green is a very bullish underlying sign of everything that you would look for. Let's go to the VIX. So the VIX here almost completely erased last week as well. So VIX got a little bit of life to the upside there, got a little chance to breathe. It has completely busted structure. We're back down here at 15, where it has historically been pretty happy. I don't see any major signals here in the VIX that are worrisome, so let's go ahead and just move on along. I do want to show you two things here, maybe a couple more before the payoff chart here at the end. One is that the bulls are finding big movement in a lot of the stocks that have been ignored. And in this week, in my opinion, this was a gamma squeeze in Apple. Of course, it did have good news. They they paid the piper, and the government is now on their side, where maybe it wasn't before. But you have this huge weekly squeeze. Massive engulfing candle, back above the 200, closes the gap fill, right? So at this point, what do you have? Well, you really kind of have like this giant breakout of this base here. Measures from about 170 to 220. Let's be conservative. Let's let's be conservative. Let's say it's 170 to 210. In reality, it's probably like 175 to 215. But let's just say 170 to 210. That's $40. 210 minus 170. 210 plus 40, the difference between the two, takes you into 250. And Apple's been pretty universally panned, but it is one of the top 5 biggest companies in the world. And if the bulls are going to make new all-time highs, which they almost certainly will, then it has to participate. So Apple this week was up massively, I think somewhere like in the neighborhood of 10%, off the back of a nice gamma squeeze. That likely will continue. Maybe not at the same pace, but that chart has certainly turned around. Here's another gamma squeeze that happened today, which is in Google. So again, these are trillion-dollar companies moving like, hot knives through butter through these levels. So just very, very impressive stuff. Here's another trillion-dollar company. And this one was up even more than this today, so it actually closed off the highs by quite a bit. But I'd be looking for maybe Tesla or Apple here. Basically, what I'd be looking for is for the laggards, because these scores here on Tesla, they're not particularly high, right? Like I just showed you the Qs earlier. They had 100% on each side of the board. Here on Tesla, it's 15 and negative 10. So somewhat underwhelming scores. But if you view it through the perspective of what do the bulls need to do to achieve their goals, they are absolutely playing a symphony right now. They move the pieces that are easy to move. So they moved Microsoft, they moved Netflix, they moved Nvidia, right? They moved Avgo, and then they left behind Apple, Tesla, and to some extent Google up until recently. And now the ones that have been really left behind, Apple and Tesla, now these are starting to light up while Microsoft and the rest start to chill out. So like this, in this game of like musical chairs between the MAG7 stocks, they are playing an absolute symphony. I could do probably 5 hours on what I've seen inside the price action. That is just some of the most impressive 5-minute and 15-minute price action on the indexes I have ever seen. I'll spare you the 5 hours for now, but if I approach the market through the point of view of what do the bulls need to push in order to achieve their goals, then Tesla and Apple are actually pretty high on that list. But the entire MAG7 actually is pretty high on the list. So with that tease out of the way, let me show you the payoff chart, and I'll include it as well in the video description below so that you can put this into your own trading platform and check it out yourself. Now, before I do have to let you know that we are offering a $7 trial for 1 month, 30-day $7 trial for Simpler Trading. That's as good of a deal as it gets. You'll get a chance to stop by, check out the live trades, take some of the trades if they resonate with you. And for the low cost of $7, I think it's kind of a must do. So if you've resonated with any of these videos, that I make or any of the other traders here make, if you know John Carter, he's going to be back next week. So this is actually a great time to do this. It's $7. Give it a try. If you like it, stick around. If you don't like it, well, I'll owe you a cup of coffee. But I just wanted to let you guys know this doesn't always come around, the $7 trial for 30 days. So make sure you check it out. Back to the chart here. Again, I'm going to include the ticker for this in the video description below, so you'll be able to put this into your own platform. But this is just the best, most important chart in the world, in my opinion. This is Apple, Amazon, Avgo, Google, JP Morgan, Meta, Microsoft, Netflix, Nvidia, and Tesla. So combined, this is about 12 to 15 trillion dollars worth of market cap. So wherever this chart goes, the market as a basket will go. And as we look at this, well, what do we have here? Well, we have a max bull chart and we have a max bull daily. Pretty impressive. And then look at the size of this squeeze. So the last time that we had a squeeze was right here, and you had the arrows, and it went on to do all of this, right? This time you have a squeeze, you get another arrow. Will it go on to, maybe do something like that? It's a probabilities game, but the probabilities here are very high. My absolute favorite setup is this: max bull plus squeeze, especially in the most liquid and frankly reliable names to trade in the market. So how do you trade this? Well, it goes back to the conversation we had around Tesla, Apple. Basically any company in this symbol can be traded to take advantage of it. If you can't decide on which one to trade, you can't decide on which one looks the best. And frankly, I actually won't even know until next week. I would maybe guess, Apple on a pullback. Tesla looks pretty interesting and coiled up. But if you can't decide on a specific company to trade, if you understand the basis of this chart, then you can just trade the QQQ. Or there is actually a MAG7 index, MAG7 ETF that you could trade as a proxy. But in general, if this chart goes up, the QQQs are going to go up with it, and it's often just the easiest, fastest way to play it. So I wanted to show you guys this chart because it is rather impressive, especially at all-time highs, especially after last week where there was some relatively bearish weekly closes, which we have not seen since April. And all of those bearish weekly closes have been reversed. So am I going into next week with, foaming at the mouth bullish? Not quite, but I have to overwhelmingly side the probabilities that it will be bullish and that this chart is the key to the market and that you could actually get a pretty big move in the mags despite all of this commentary around seasonality. August is usually bad. We'll see if that plays out, but you never step into the same river twice. We have to look at each moment in time as a unique moment in time, and whether it's August or whether it's May or October, this chart is one that I have to trade, so I'll be focusing on it going into next week. That's my time, guys. Before you go somewhere else on YouTube, drop us a like, drop us a comment. It does help us out with the algorithm, so give us that click. Let us know what you're looking at. If you want me to look at anything next week, drop it down there in the comments. And I look forward to catching up with you guys again next Friday. Cheers.